Hello there, this is Father Fish, welcoming you back to the next installation of Father Fish, the aquarium. Now in truth, my aquarium, my pet shop, is really a fish room. It's really a hobby room. It was designed and developed out of my lanai, and it grew out of my experience throughout my childhood and youth, visiting local fish stores. So this is an old-time local fish store. It's a celebration of a few people's lives, people who have been friends my whole life. People like Merle Cohen, gone these few years, who was one of the stalwarts, one of the early leaders in the tropical fish industry. He's the man who learned how to cure ick before there were heaters for tanks. He was the first to use plastic bags. Can you imagine? I remember as a child bringing fish home in a little Chinese bucket. You know, the little cardboard buckets with the wire handle? That's how we used to carry our fish from shop to home. Merle started using plastic bags, and the whole industry grew up out of that early attempt to transport fish safely and healthfully. Another person who I was very close to for a number of years was Henry Hall. Now, Henry Hall was not a man who was famous in the industry. He was a hobbyist. Henry died in his early 80s. When I met him, he had 40 fish tanks. Now, every one of these tanks were 100 gallons or better. And every one of them had one fish in each tank. Those fish ranged from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 feet long. He was a keeper of monster fish. It's not how he started out, but it's how he ended up. And he donated those fish and the aquariums to the Baltimore Aquarium. That's how I met Henry, when he was looking for someone to take over his collection. We installed it in a temporary tent on Pier 5 in Baltimore, on the site of what was to become the National Aquarium. So his were the first fish ever displayed in the National Aquarium. I don't know if any remain alive, perhaps a few do. Some of those fish will live forever, and there were a number of them that were just magnificent. Another person who I have dedicated this shop to is a man who has been my friend from my early adulthood, Richard Hahn. They call him Cap. He's the owner and director of the Catoctin Mountain Zoological Park up at Camp David, Maryland, where the President's Retreat is. It's a beautiful 100-acre site with all kinds of animals in it, in beautiful displays, a glorious zoo, a park really, that has developed into something of rare beauty. Rick Hahn, a dear friend, who incidentally was the person who put me on to Henry Hall, because he found out about Henry's search for someone to take over his aquariums and fish. Rick decided he couldn't do it, so he called me, and it became part of the National Aquarium. So for years and years, I've been involved in this hobby, been involved with people who have changed my life and been just so important to me that when I finally wound up with a pet store at 70 years of age, that is, I remembered my mother's sister telling me she could always imagine me as running a pet store. So I decided to do it to honor her as well. Dorothy Tarr, a lovely woman, a great artist, a woman who put together an art club that became an art center on Kent Island on the eastern shore of Maryland. A glorious and lovely woman, one of my favorite people. So as you visit Father Fish, you find echoes of lots of people. You find those echoes in a lot of ways. You find them in the ways in which the tanks are organized. I use a stair-step approach, which I admired from many, many years ago in the old Acme Aquarium in Baltimore. He had stair-step displays. I always liked it. I tried it. I have it here in my shop. I like it a lot. It allows you to see the tanks a little closer up and without having to bend over quite so far or stand quite so tall. When you visit Father Fish, you discover that you suddenly embarked upon an expedition. Some people feel there's no rhyme or reason to it at all. But the rhyme and reason is to create an environment where you can search and discover. It really is a place of discovery. I have an enormously wide variety of fish, but they're not always instantly available. Some are hiding in their little caves. Others are spawning in the corner of tanks, protecting their babies. Some are living in pipes or in other places that are not easy to find. My tanks are filled with plants, with vegetation, and lots of the fish will hide behind the plants until they see you and get used to you and come out and say hello. So it's an expedition. Some of the tanks are labeled, really many of them are, but fish have a way of moving from tank to tank. Sometimes I don't really understand how they do it, but they do. And a tank that may be labeled with one fish, you won't find that fish in it at all, but it'll be 3 tanks down and to the left and down below. It has migrated into an aquarium that suits its likes a little better. In addition to the aquariums, I have an atrium and a number of different kinds of birds. You can probably hear the birds in the background. It's a fairly wide variety of small birds. I don't have many big ones. I have mid-sized parrots, no giant parrots, but a lot of little birds. One of my favorite are the parrotlets that just seem to breed all the time. I have a mother that's raising 6 babies right now. Can you imagine the heroics involved in raising 6 babies? And they're not all the same size. Some are big as an egg, a chicken egg, and some are as tiny as a robin egg. They're a few weeks different in age, and so there's considerable difference in size. In addition to that, there are canaries, parakeets, doves. I used to have pigeons. They're in and out. I have lovebirds, lots of different kinds of finches, some conures, some, oh golly, parrotlets. I said parrotlets. What's the other word? I can't think. Canary. Won't come to me. When you get old, you can't think of stuff very well. Anyway, back to the fish a little bit. I love oddballs. I have catfish, lots of predators, some giant fish that get 2 and 3 feet long, lots of specialty fish like killies and Tanganyika cichlids, riverines, and there are always new fish coming in every day. So the next video is going to get me off screen and into the shop. So it'll be a chance to look around a little bit and kind of get a sense of what we're doing here at Father Fish. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for staying with me through this awkward little presentation. I'm trying to learn how to do this and at the same time get enough videos up to make it an interesting channel. So see you next time. Probably tomorrow I will do a tour of the shop. Look forward to seeing you then. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe. It would help a lot if you subscribe. I've got a long ways to go to get to where I need to be, but every little bit's going to help. Thanks, and see you tomorrow. Happy fishing.